Hey there, everybody. Just thought I'd check in as we move into Unit 7, which is the first essay assignment for the class. Despite the fact that we are almost, I think, in the midterm or midway through our 8-week session here, it just really flies by. It always amazes me. So anyway, for Unit 7, first thing to note is that instead of what would normally be maybe a Monday deadline for us, we have a Thursday deadline. So you actually have a week, which is technically twice as long as normal to work on it, but is still very compressed because of our 8-week course as opposed to the 16-week. So you have more time than we normally would have to work on a unit, but it's still not a whole ton of time. So it is important to get started early and stay focused and all that kind of stuff. And I had mentioned for Unit 6 that it was one of those ones that's fairly easy to complete, but is really important in terms of showing that you understand kind of the research basics for, locating appropriate secondary sources and understanding how to integrate those effectively into your writing. So easy to complete, but really important. Unit 7 is equally important and is maybe a little more demanding because now you really do have to put into practice all of the things that we've moved fairly quickly through up to this point. The big sort of overall things about the shape of an essay and balancing the general and specific, the more kind of detail-oriented things like the MLA citation. Obviously, for this particular essay, for Unit 7, you're not using a secondary source, but you will for the revision or the rewrite of that essay, which is Unit 8. So again, you reach the point now where you're really putting into practice and showing me through that essay that you sort of get what's been going on in the course so far, all the big picture stuff, but also the details too. And I'm going to actually mention some things that are laid out pretty clearly in Unit 7, just because they are so important. And I'm literally reading right from the Unit 7 that you're going to be reading too. So as I've mentioned before, correct MLA formatting both within the text of your essay and also within the works cited pages, just hugely important. So be sure you're getting that correct. Email me with any questions you have about it. Oftentimes that sort of citation isn't, transparent. You can't just sort of figure out how it's supposed to go. You just have to follow models and kind of learn the technique or the formatting and then apply it every time. So if you're not getting it, just be sure to be in touch with me. It's not something that you can kind of figure out on your own sometimes. The second bullet point here in the unit is just a reminder, no I voice or that conversational, after reading the story, I think, or I feel that, etc., etc. Just make the statement directly about the particular work. One of the funny things that you'll notice is it actually doesn't change what you can say necessarily. It just makes it much more concise and precise, which is what we're going for in these kinds of essays. Another reminder to read sample essays from the book, especially if you're potentially new to this style of essay, the sort of literary research paper. So the sample essays give you a really good idea of the kind of tone that you're going for and the scope or the breadth of how you're approaching the particular work, the short story that you'll be writing on. Formatting is not so important because some of the essays are formatted differently, but it's really the tone or the style that's important to understand there. Another one that's even highlighted, all body paragraphs within your essay should contain direct quotation from the story. That's sort of the fundamental, proof for your interpretation. You can say, it's sort of a myth that you can, literature is subjective, and so you can kind of say anything. Well, you can have an opinion about whether you like or dislike something, but we're not writing opinion pieces. We're writing interpretations or analysis papers, which means that if you put forward an interpretation, it's not just anything goes because it's subjective. You still have to ground that in proof from the text, and that's always going to be direct quotation. So it's just a rule of thumb. Every body paragraph has direct quotation. In fact, one of the things I do before I even read your essay is just sort of scan down. I scroll down and look, you can just eyeball it. Is there a quotation mark in that body paragraph? And if there's not, it shows me that you're not really understanding it and you haven't paid attention to the directions here or even what I'm saying right now. So it's one of those really easy checks for me to see if people are paying attention and putting into practice the things that we're talking about in the course. Pardon me. The information for the essay itself is all within the unit here. There's a couple of really basic discussion board things, but obviously the focus here is that first essay. It's not very long, but the point is really to show me through that essay that you have understood the concepts and can put them into practice. All the stuff that we've sort of looked at up to this point in the course. So you have some extra time, but as the Lego Indiana Jones here will remind us, be sure to use that time wisely. It's already pretty compressed, so it pays to keep up. Anyway, send me emails or be in touch with me if you have any questions about this specific assignment or general MLA things, past assignments that you didn't do so well on. Just be in touch.